So, with the sit. Yes. Yes. Now from the sides. Yes. So Creed is a little bit further into the program than this phase, but this is a very good opportunity to show you what it looks like when a dog does not have something generalized. I have shown him that luring into the SIT from the front and my left side is what I expect, but we have not done it from the right. You will see how from the front he's much more fluent. Yes. From the left as well. Yes. But once we do it on the right side, he's going to struggle a little bit more. Let's go. Good. See that? And he swings his butt around to what he knows. So, oh, good job, Bubbas. So we're going to have to experiment a little bit. I might have to use that pressure on his butt to help him understand that this means the same thing as in front of me and on the left. Good. So, easy, Bubba. Almost. Okay, I tried. That distracted him, but now that he knows it's my foot, he might be more comfortable with it, and he might follow it. Oh, almost, Bubba's. Phew! Yes, there we go. Good boy. Going to another rep. Help him figure it out. Whew. Yes, good job. Now that was easier for him to figure out because we've already done this phase of obedience commands. So he's already gotten a good idea of the SIT, but in different positions. So he was able to figure this out with minimal help, but he still needed it. And that just goes to show that even though he's done that and lured into it 100 times, he still needed that help. And when he didn't know what to do, he defaulted to what he knows that picture looks like. Good boy. And I have a ton of footage from Creed when I was problem solving in this phase initially. So I'm going to add that to this so you can watch and see some of the problem solving techniques that I use and that I go through to help a dog figure out what I'm actually asking of them. Yes. Yes. Good. Yes. Mm-mm. Yes. Pay attention. Good. Yes. 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 So right there, in order to get big reps out of him, I need to make sure that I do not, wow. That was a lot of drool, bub. Anyway, the purpose of that was you saw that I was trying to get momentum and repetitions in a nice flow for him so he can get a lot of good, rewarding reps quickly. But from the part where I'm drawing him towards me like so, he's very good at. From the side, he doesn't really realize that he should follow the lure the same way as he does from the front. He likes to rush ahead. When he walks with people, it'd be a safe bet that he likes to forge ahead. So as soon as we start going this way, he goes away from that lure and he starts pushing ahead. So assuming that that was correct, I decided to problem solve by, when I start moving him forward, maybe just a tiny half step to bring his butt up. That way I could lure it back down instead of going into a full couple steps forward and getting him to that momentum where he likes to forge ahead. Yes. Good. Yes. Yes. Good. And I got to get him to commit to following a lure. He likes to push ahead of it. He's gotten paid. I'm guessing he's a shelter dog. So you can imagine how many times he's been paid just for doing a sit in front of somebody. So that's his default behavior. If he doesn't get paid immediately, good. He forges ahead. So now, in light of that, and making that assumption with him, I'm going to pay immediately off of presentation and start forming a reward history in the heel, so that way he is less encouraged to forge ahead. Good. Now let's see if that'll help our flow when it comes to quick, continuous repetitions of a sit from the side. Creed. Good. Yes. Yes. Almost. He was getting paid pretty good there, so not quite sure why he checked out there. He's still early in training, so he might be getting mentally tired. Yes. Good job, Bubs. So what I'm going to do, since I can see he's getting a little bit tired, might be checking out on me a little bit, I'm going to end that with a nice high reward right there for the last rep of the training session. End the session so that way he can end it on a win. And I'm going to stop before he gets fully satiated so that way he can look forward to his next session. For the down command. Yes. From the side. Good. Yes. From the other side. Now let's see if he struggles with this side. Good boy. Now remember, we have to lure him into an SIT here. So, it might be hard. Easy. Good. Good. Yes. Good job, Bubba. Good job. As you can see, that right side was clearly much more difficult for him to figure out, and it was more difficult for me to help him figure out. This side, my mechanics were much more smooth. In front of me, my mechanics were much more smooth. And on this side, I was much more janky. That just goes to show that until you both have that skill set together, it's going to be sloppy. It's not going to look perfect every time. The process of helping your dog figure out what we're asking does not always look pretty. Good boy. All right, let's do place. He's already passed the initial stage for the place bed. He's got a decent understanding of this so far. You can see that he's had a massive reward history on that and he likes being on it. Hey, where you going, fool? You got to hang out over here with me. Good boy. Okay, so what it'll look like. We just take him. We lure him on. Yes. Now you saw that he was about to go into a DOWN immediately. That's because we've done that a few times. Yes. Good job, Bubbas. That's so good. Now, for the purpose of not making him do something that's going to teach him, oh, maybe I don't have to do the DOWN, I'm going to continue bringing him into that position just so he can continue progressing at his stage of training. Let's go, bub. But you will not get to this point until your dog is more fluent with the DOWN. Yes. Place training is going to be an excellent opportunity to introduce the release cue to your dog. The release cue is similar to marker training, but it's not used in the same way. Marker training lets our dogs know if they're doing something correctly or incorrectly. The release cue simply tells our dog they can stop doing what they were doing and they can go be a free dog. Go do dog things. You no longer have to maintain whatever behavior we were holding you accountable for. So, what that would look like, good, free. Our release cue is the word free, F-R-E-E. You can pick whatever word you would like to use as your release cue. I'm not going to pick that for you, but I will make some suggestions. Do not pick words that are used. Nice, you got an itchy bum? Good boy. Anyway, before he rudely interrupted me, I suggest not using words that are used very often in everyday conversation. This is because if you're using them in conversation and your dog hears them while they're conducting a command, they will break position, and they'll have every right to do so because they heard their release word. So a few of the words that I recommend that many trainers use are release, break, or free. Earlier in training, when you are introducing this release cue, I suggest making it kind of fun the way that I have been. So when I do this, sit, good. I'm going to move away from him when I do it and kind of become bubbly. Free. Good job. We do this early on in training to encourage our dogs to remain engaged with us even after they have heard their release cue. When we give it in a distracting environment like he's in right now, he's seeing people pass by our entry over there. This is distracting. So if I was to give him his release cue right now, chances are he'd move that way. But if I do it with movement, free. Good job, Bubs. That encourages him to follow along with me. That creates a habit that can help you later on in the training program and just overall life with your dog that will help keep engagement with you on the handler rather than outward on the environment. Now with the heel. Not every dog is going to understand that they need to stick their tongue in this opening and scoop the treats out. It's not always easy for dogs to chew and walk at the same time, so we need to help them figure these tasks out. If your dog has a hard time scooping them out of your hands, sit here and let them practice without moving first. Then when you do, move just a little bit. Good. Good. Yes. Good job, pal. Creed has always had a very difficult time scooping the treats out without dropping them on the ground. So we take our time developing this behavior so that way we have less treats falling out of his mouth and onto the ground. Why are the treats on the ground a big deal? They don't have to be if you decide they're not, but I like the dog to remain paying attention to my lure rather than the ground. If our dog drops treats on the ground often and then they see them on the ground, they are creating a reward history on the ground. The reward history of treats being on the ground is going to develop floor surfing. Floor surfing is where your dog always checks out of training and starts checking the ground for easy payments because he knows the floor produces a lot of treats. Good boy. Yeah, good job, Bubba. Now, some of the auto sits. We're going to start them off slow. Good. 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 Good, Bubba. Yeah. Good job. Oh, free. Good job. So right there, I just gave him some loving, some good attention. And that brings me to another note. It's important not to become treat dispensers for our dogs. If they just see us as a treat dispenser, we're not going to be as fun and enjoyable to be around. We want to build a relationship with them as well as provide the motivation through treats. So, treats are great, but petting and praise and treats are even better. Be sure to throw in some petting and praise when your dog is doing well. That way we can keep our relationship building, we can make the training more fun for our dogs, and more rewarding overall. Good boy. Moving into the recall. As you can see with the heel, sometimes it's difficult for dogs to follow the lure. So to get to this point, you may have to practice following a lure before you can do a full recall repetition smoothly. So, following the lure, I whip around. Yes. He turns around and commits to come back to me. I mark that behavior with Y. He comes. Oh, a good note. When I have a dog on the leash and I'm addressing you directly, when I'm referring to the terminal, I'm going to use Y. And when I'm referring to the duration, I'm going to use G. This is so our dogs do not hear the words that I'm saying and then not get the value by me paying. I don't want to say the word and have zero result, lowering the value of the terminal marker because he's not getting a treat after I say it. So with that being said, when I say terminal, it'll be Y. When I say duration, it'll be G when I'm addressing you. Later on, when he's starting to get better and better at the recall repetitions, increase criteria. Good. Yes. I made him commit a few more steps rather than just turning and showing me that he wants to follow. This time, I made sure he continued. Then I marked increased distance that way. Good girl. Another method to begin training the recall would be taking a treat and tossing it across the floor, and then as soon as your dog scoops it up, calling their name, giving the recall command, marking with Y as soon as they turn towards us, and then continuing to move yourself backwards to continue to pull your dog towards you to complete the repetition to come earn that food. You can really rock out some quick repetitions with this. Reecee, here. Yes. Reecee, here. Yes. Reecee, here. Yes. Reecee, here. Yes. As they get better and better at this, you can require them to start coming back to you a little bit further before marking with Y. This is increasing the criteria, right? So I'll toss it. Reecee, here. Yes. That time I marked that she was about halfway back to me. So that is just increasing that distance she needs to travel before getting the confirmation of Y. Reecee, here. Yes. So after a bunch of those repetitions, let's let her just kind of walk around and see if that conditioned anything with her. Reecee, here. Yes. Woohoo! Good girl. So you can see how those repetitions over and over and over again build that habit of hearing the Reecee here command, and that turns her to move towards me, but my job is not done there. I need to continue moving backwards and pulling her towards me to help her continue to learn this skill. Good girl. Reecee, here. Yes. Good job. Reecee, here. Yes. There's a couple pros and cons. The main con is that you take a treat, you toss it on the floor. So right there, I'm creating reward history. I just tossed that treat on the floor. So now she is going to be more influenced to scan the floor for treats, but I can get a ton of repetitions in with that method. Homework for this lesson: work on the different types of lures, work on luring your dog into each of the positions, behaviors, and commands that we've been working on. Do 3 sessions per day, 10 to 15 minutes per session. Remember, do not use the verbal command. Only use your markers if you're going to talk during these sessions. When you're doing this, make sure that you do not move on to the next lesson until your dog is at a minimum of 80% success rate for luring. What I mean by this is your dog lures successfully 8 out of 10 tries. So if I lure for the sit, they successfully do it 8 out of 10 times, we are good to go to the next lesson. Now, why do we want our dogs to be 80% successful before moving on to the next lesson? We need to make sure that our dogs understand what we're asking of them and what they're learning before we move on. Otherwise, we're moving too quickly and they're not truly understanding what we're doing.